This is why it was important to call out Chris Duffy as a sexual assaulter outside Rite Aid yesterday. He was walking too close to me. I felt threatened by his presence. He was I'd say about 7 feet away from me the time I noticed him. Due to knowing what kind of guy he is, that he would push me down and rub his dick on me against my will, and then try to say I wanted that, or suggest that it was sort of consensual. Wrestling me, as he called it, or tussling me, as he mischaracterized it or euphemized it, to adult protection. I felt imminent fear of possible attack, as I have bad attacks of panic when I see a man who would do such a thing to me. So by saying, Chris Duffy, you sexually assaulted me, you creep, to him loud enough for other people to hear, it created a barrier of my absolute and total rejection of his violence and his misogyny and his soul-destructive, bone-crushing, rib-crushing, pinching, bruising, leg-pinning assault that he refuses to completely confess to the Astoria police and the Clatsop district attorney. So by saying that out loud, this is the kind of guy, if you smile at him, he's going to interpret it as flirting or a date. He's going to think you're on a date. He's completely delusional, presumptuous. And so I could tell he was kind of frightened by me because I didn't want to be scared of him as he goes into the Rite Aid. I pointed him out to the manager, Troy, and was like, that guy sexually assaulted me. There's a pending case with the Clatsop district attorney. And he was like, well, do you have a restraining order against him? And I said, no, there's too much time has gone by. He said, well, there's nothing I can do unless you have that order. And then Troy's big friend was just like, oh, I'm so sorry. And then the guy behind Chris Duffy goes like, oh, kind of like, boy, that guy's really being called out. So I go in there and do my cans. He's waiting in line, and I'm like recycling my cans. And I feel like I'm shaking, and I'm feeling like I'm throwing the cans. And I can tell he's glancing at me or something. And I get through it really fast, and I go up to the man who'd sort of laughed in support, like he understood that it was a victory for me to call out this abuser in public and demarcate respect, demand the respect that he refused to give me intrinsically. And I go to him, and I'm just like, oh, for clarity's sake, I'm like, oh, he didn't completely rape me. He just rubbed his dick on me and pinned me down, and there's a pending case. I'm like, since when do you even discuss such things? But at this point, I find trouble in the use of, like, was it an attempted rape? Was it a sexual assault? It was definitely groping. Every grope is a sexual assault, but this pin down, near penetration, hold down with herpes, dude, it's like, you tell someone you have herpes, no, pinning them down against their will, it's not consensual. So he's getting through his checkout, and he goes out one-sided door. I get through my checkout. The ladies, I'm just warning them, be careful of that guy. Like, there's this pending case. And they're like, I'm sorry. And I'm shaken, but I leave, and I'd seen him walk, and I'm like, oh, is he walking back to Bob Chisholm Center where the stupid lawyers want him to keep working around the elderly and disabled? while the district attorney figures out if they can do anything about it. But it turns out he has his car, so I make a sharp diagonal to get through the trees, because I kind of basically have to pass where he works to get back to where I live, which is disgusting. But at least I'm not in Astoria where he lives at night, where I really feel in danger. But he's in his car. And then I verify the plates. I'm like, oh, I recognize those plates. That's the car I see frequently that I think is most likely his car. That looks like the hood, it got mashed up, or he got in an accident recently, or somebody attacked his hood or something. And he's like sitting there lurking, and I can tell he's looking out for me. I feel his energy is just like he's scared he's going to be verbally accosted again. Some more. Like, duh. Like, if you don't want to be verbally accosted at Rite Aid, maybe just don't go assaulting women. And expecting them to stay, like, too afraid to talk about it. That's what he expected. He expected to get away with it. He expected to keep me submerged, submissive, walked on, afraid he would stalk, afraid he would kill me. I was afraid he would kill me when he was attacking me. So I called his boss. His boss wasn't answering. I call his work, and they call his boss on his cell phone and get him to call me back. And that was kind of nightmarish too, because it's not okay what he's done. I got a lot out of his boss about, oh yeah, the lawyers, blah, blah, blah. Well, your lawyers are idiots. That's my conclusion. Yeah, of course, lawyers think that way. Lawyers think about the best interest of the abuser, not vulnerable parties. His energy was really like haunting, perversely haunting. It was like, it's almost like I couldn't see any detail in his face. He just completely became this kind of grayish, like smoky cloud of nondescript, frightening, and far too close. I must have like blurred my eyes just to not have to process him. But I remember kind of processing that he was just completely walking through it. And then as he was slipping out of my gaze, that's when I added in, you creep. Because it was like, I think the guy behind him was kind of laughing. And it was kind of like an angel spirit, actually, the bystander, because I felt a lot of strength from his, I felt a supportive strength in his energy. And he was this, he was this huge, brawny, black construction worker dude with like arms this big, and I felt so strong. Like, even though Chris Duffy's 6'6" and has no place trying to wrestle or attack someone like me and pin me down and pin my legs so I can't kick him, he's still kind of like, looks like just a tall, skinny-ish. I guess he's not as skinny as he used to be. I guess he gained weight or something. I don't know, he eats a lot. But it was almost like I didn't raise my voice inside the store, but I said quite a lot to the people working there. I even heard the manager, Troy, saying something about calling the police, or he's not sure if he needs to call the police. And I don't know what to do, but if someone, like, say the sex predator who, what's his name, Daniel McKenna, who's downloading all this child porn, I see him at the grocery, I don't want to talk to him. I don't want to make eye contact. Now that I know what he's into. But I felt a very similar energy with Chris Duffy. It was just like his energy was sinister and perverse and creepy and gross. And this is a person, the first night I met him, I found him too ugly to look at. Like, I remember just going like, because I couldn't concentrate on anything he was saying because he was so unattractive. And I'm the kind of person I give someone a chance because they're smart. And he took that as an invitation to grope and harass me, despite meeting my partner. And then despite all my many objections, many reasons. I was afraid of him from the get-go as soon as he started talking herpes, because he seemed kind of cuckoo, like out of it, weird. And I'm like, okay. At some point I thought I was just going to be like, oh, I'm sorry, that's too bad, you have herpes. Like, I don't care. Like, what do you say? It's like, my cat died, I have herpes. Like, I'm sorry. I keep thinking, oh my god, that's when I should have shown him the door, because he's obviously off on a tangent. But that's the time I realized that's when I was starting to register fear. Like, oh my god, he's between the door. Why is he talking about sex? Why is he talking about herpes? And what does this have to do with me? It was just way beyond my ability to comprehend that he would turn into that much of a predator. Then I'm thinking like, oh god, he's one of those like inappropriate, gropey, touchy-feely types of people, and he wants this to be a part of his whole job routine, and I hate this. But I was thinking, maybe he's just like a kind of like an overly too wants to snuggle kind of a friend, and that's it. Like, I don't have feelings for you, I don't have romantic interest in you. And then as it just got weirder and weirder, I'm like, whoa, am I gonna have to call police? Like, I really don't want to. And then I'm explaining, no, I'd rather date a woman. And then he'd be like, I'm dating George. Oh. He didn't hear no. He didn't hear, this is my excuse, this is my alibi, this. And like, now it's like, I'm like, why didn't I close eyes out before? But really, I mean, maybe he would have strangled me or beaten me down. I don't know. But I know that when fear is operating, dudes like this, they think you're consenting. They don't realize you're. I was just completely afraid this time because I know what he's capable of. And I know he's very like Mr. Smug. He's very smug. And after he did it, he had this sort of like, and now I will proceed to get away with murder kind of attitude, which was made it even more disturbing. And I think that's when it was like, and now I will proceed to find out more about you, where you work, and make sure we can track and trace this and assess what kind of risk you will be ongoing. And I don't know. He could kill me. He could. I don't know. He's not as super crazy as Ben. But every kind of crazy is unique. He could be like some secret striker person. I think that's kind of what he did. He still doesn't look like the type to attack. He's like banking on his nerd look as some kind of like covert identity, covert sex abuser. It's perplexing that he admitted to assaulting me and pinning me down in a wrestling pin down. he did this. I was there. And it was sexual, and he was pressing himself on me. That's the part that he goes like, I don't think that I really pressed my penis on her, or something. And I'm like, the dick is attached to your body, and if you're pinning me down with all your weight pressed on me, what constitutes attempted rape? How close does his fucking dick have to be? I watched a herpes educational video the other day where it shows that herpes can be transmitted through what is called dry humping, and he was definitely trying to dry hump me against my will with all my arms and my legs pinned down. I have a severe neck injury from when Ben Pickering whiplash slammed me down on the kitchen floor and tried to break my neck. So I don't really need any other guys assaulting me, okay? I'm in pain. My neck cramps up. I feel like I can't swallow. I feel like I'm being strangled permanently. Like, the junk I'm going through in this side of my neck is really bad. My ribs were something messed up from Ben. So when Chris was assaulting me, he was re-traumatized. He was preying on the injury that was already there from a year before. Now it's 2 years before. So, like, beautiful girl is just like, so wait a minute, you told him about your ex assaulting you and almost killing you, and then he attacked you? That really doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense why he would be preying on someone who just survived a violent near homicide from a psychotic ex-stalker dude. Unless he's just like a vulture and he's like, ooh, dead meat, carrion. Ooh, she's been almost killed by one man. I'll just jump in on the action. And that's where this sort of gang mentality is coming. And that's deeply upsetting. When he was describing the very first night I met him, right after the movie, he's standing there and Brenda's standing there and he's like, and they were shouting and blah 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 with Kim, and I'm kind of like, whoa, dude, you're already admitting to being like verbally abusive in this explosive thing with this lady. I don't know you, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I had a bad thing with my ex. He tried to kill me, right? So the very first night I met him, I tell him this. One other night, me and Brenda and him are at the voodoo room, and Peter walks up and Peter's like, yeah, Ben's been to my house, and I'm like, oh no, Ben's in Astoria, he might hurt me. So I have this ongoing fearful 3-year no contact order with this guy, and I don't even know Chris's name. I can't remember his name. I'm like, what's your name? And introduce him to Peter. Then I go to Brenda and Peter's table and I'm like, Ben is looking for me in Astoria. This is creepy. I'm scared. So this guy has heard on multiple occurrences, including the night that he attacked me, that I am fearful of an ex who has attacked me and stalked me. He shouldn't be thinking like, oh, my chance to attack and stalk and be creepy too. But he is. This is this weird thing about these abusive perpetrator dudes. I think his license plate was like 5 MNY 560, something like that. Oregon, pretty close to that. It's the little silver like Ford or something. I hope if anyone else has been physically hurt, especially by him, please go forward to make a report. It would help. I would appreciate that.